Hey, you, welcome back to the channel. And guys, today we're going to review Black Mirror Season 2, Episode 3, Where's Waldo? And guys, this episode, in a very scary and uncanny way, kind of predicts a presidential election. And that's what a lot of people who've watched this episode have identified with, that this is bears a striking resemblance to the Donald Trump election. And that is because of what we get with the character of Waldo, who is actually a cartoon that is controlled by a comedian with a failed career who's trying to come to terms with where does he go with his life from this point on. And he gets tangled up in a political campaign where he's actually become a prime candidate. And it's, of course, it's all accidental, but he finds that through this type of use of what can be termed as not being politically correct, which is seems to be happening quite a lot in politics, is kind of, the course has been set that now politicians want to speak their mind as people basically like a volcano have erupted. People have become distrustful of their governments and politicians, more so than ever. And, it has become very necessary that a forthright candidate that they can support and believe represent them. And in this particular episode that came out in like 2012, which was very interesting, as it was going in the direction of what was what would kind of become the a actual reality. Um, is quite amazing. But Waldo, he does get the support of the people by saying all the things that basically are on people's minds. And the comedian, and fail me if please forgive me if I forget the character's name, because I think Waldo was such a big focal point. I only, basically focused on Waldo and Monroe, who was the main opposition, his party, which appeared to be more so, I guess I can kind of consider Waldo as a type of right-wing conservatism, when that, it was more so less from the liberal platform. But so this comedian, he doesn't, after he finds that he's becoming this huge voice for the people, he doesn't really want that mantle. He, doesn't know anything about politics, and he really doesn't go down that path. But at this point, Waldo's become such a large representation from the people, of the people, that it's become bigger than him. And so, Waldo has become this entity of its own. Now, I found it very interesting in that particular setup, because in these type situations, in these political landscapes, it can become to the point where people become so much emotionally invested in saying what's on their minds, and this type of celebrity personality type image, if you will, that they can also forget the what the platform was all about, the importance of the, and so what's brought up that I thought was an excellent part of the episode is when the comedian's love interest is actually confronted to the point where she goes, where, well, you basically don't have any solutions, for all of the complaints and problems that exist. You only have, this political comical satire you do, And that is the extent, of it. And after that, you go home and nothing changes, nothing gets done. And I thought that was very important. And I thought it very much mirrored, the elections, as, we got to see a lot with, what happened with the Donald Trump election. As far as the topics that were brought up, and that is, can we become so emotionally invested in personalities, in celebrities, and glamour that we forget the issues and we're voting on that and not really voting to solve a problem, not really putting forth a concrete plan that solves an issue. And so that was, I thought that was a very good point that we got to see in this episode. And so after coming to terms with this, obviously the comedian, he wants to give up Waldo, and not have people vote for Waldo because he knows that Waldo doesn't really have the solutions to the problems, but that Waldo is just basically just this frustration of the people, just this you know, like when a person becomes frustrated, with a situation and needs a let out. Waldo is a type of, place where people can put that energy in. And so the comedian comes, basically comes to terms with that. And he, wants to say, hey, don't vote for Waldo. Waldo can't help you. He can't solve the problems. But at this point, Waldo has become so huge as a political tool that they're actually approached by people, and I'm not sure who this person is. I may need to rewatch the episode to figure out who he was. I'm not sure if he worked for some type of State Department, but he wants to take Waldo and basically create this image of influence to sway votes, and also talks about how Waldo can be used in South American countries, I believe, and where he could be actually can win elections and sway voters. So found that all that very, very scary and interesting. And the comedian, obviously, as he's, come to this change of heart about the situation. He's pretty much jeopardized the media company he works for that wants to use Waldo to control the people. And that's another issue that's come up a lot in politics, is the media's ability to control the people, and that the media is very powerful. And we get the comedian struggling with his media company that's taken control of the personality of Waldo and are attempting to do and use Waldo without him at all, to the point they're using Waldo's power to basically get him injured. And we get to see in closing that he's homeless, he's lost his career, and Waldo imagery is everywhere. It's almost like Waldo's taken over the world and is now leading the people, and is basically won. And interesting enough, when Donald Trump won the election, a lot of people kind of felt that that's what had happened. They felt like this not this real person, but this personality, this reality TV star had basically, taken over the world. And this is similar to what happens in this episode with Waldo, but Waldo came out in 2012, 4 or 5 years before this actual event happened. And wow, just an amazing episode, guys. Just quite interesting what the political landscape has become like. Where it's going from now, I don't think it's ever going to be the same. And crazy enough, a future situation where maybe images, maybe just ideas themselves, run the world. There's actually been a lot of dystopian type movies and stories where just kind of images and people who don't exist and just ideas run the world. So all very interesting, guys. Guys, tell me if you like this episode of Black Mirror. Tell me, how do you feel the future of politics will be? Will we have these virtual avatars just created out of the ideas and frustrations of people running the world? Guys, if you like content like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, take care.